Tori here, and we are back with part 3, the final part of my obnoxiously titled dragon ranking video. Sorry this part's taken so long to materialise, I've just really not been up for making videos recently, but I'll talk about that sometime later in the week. Right, so you know the gist of what I'm doing, and oh boy is this going to be tough to order because these last 24 dragons are awesome. Ah well, let's not dilly-dally and just jump straight in at number 24, which will be Nevin from Toasty.
Nasty Nork has put one of his most devious henchmen in charge of the artisan world.
Bring him on! I think I smell a barbecue.
Be careful, Spyro. Toasty has many tricks up his sleeve.
If I could only give one reason to justify Nevin's placement, over the entire list that is, I'd have to mention Spyro's adorable animation when he talks about bringing the toast to Toasty. I mean, it has to be one of the most iconic animations in the whole Reignited Trilogy. Nevin himself isn't too bad, and looks quite dapper in his artist's apparel, but to be honest, it's not the highlight of the encounter for me, and indeed, I never really understood the hype behind this guy to begin with. Yeah, he was one of the first dragon encounters shown as teaser footage, but how many of you actually remember Nevin himself and not Spyro and his cute little war dance? So yeah, I'm gonna place him here. He looks cool, he sounds cool, but Spyro steals the show on this one for me. At number 23, we have Devlin from Town Square.
Thanks, Spyro. I had the worst itch on the tip of my wing. Did you know that you get your longest glides by pressing the jump button at the very top of your jump?
Okay, before I say anything else, how the heck did he manage to write "Thanks Spyro" on that cake while trapped in crystal? Also, how did he know Spyro was going to be the one to save him? Regardless of these tiny plot holes, that cake looks delicious. And Devlin himself is positively adorable. I mean, who doesn't love bakers? They give us sugary sweet treats for Christ's sake. So I might not go so far as to call him Chubby Boy, especially when compared with some of the other chubsters in this game, but he's certainly stocky. There's something about his face too that makes him stand out in my mind. It's very square, you know? And as of writing this, I can't think of any other dragon with a face shape quite like his. Also, our boy isn't afraid to wear pink, which makes him even more awesome. Yeah, you rock that oven mitt, dude. At number 22, it's Siddiqui from Metalhead.
Metalhead is all charged up to meet you. Attacking the power pole should disrupt his power supply.
Did anyone else think this was Spyro's dad in the original game? He had the skin tone, the golden frills and chest, reddish wings. Well, it's canon for me now, he's definitely Spyro's dad. Or at least he was. He doesn't really resemble his dad now, but no matter, because in my opinion, he looks even better than he did before. The first thing you'll probably notice as Siddiqui breaks free of his crystal prison is those gold flecks all over his body. I tell you, if the dragons had gorgeous markings like this all over their bodies, I wouldn't care about the missing spots at all. Then of course there's that vivid purple skin tone of his, and not 2, but 4 horns. Geez, Siddiqui, how come TFB let you have 2 sets of horns? At number 21 we have Niles, or Niles from Town Square. I think I'm going to go with Niles, it sounds a bit better.
Welcome to Town Square, Spyro. Begin exploring by gliding to that area with the bulls. Use the right stick to get a good look.
The first snacky boy of the game. So you might be thinking, really? Niles? He hasn't got a lot going for him. True, he's not the fanciest looking dragon, but what he lacks in design he makes up for with charm. When he breaks out a crystal, the first thing he does is stand back and admire the sculpture he's working on. This is really not going to help Spyro's narcissism, by the way. So yes, not only does Niles charm with his artistic talent, he's also very polite, welcoming Spyro to Town Square whilst bowing in the presence of our formidable yet tiny purple protagonist. What makes this encounter memorable for me though? As he leaves, he accidentally knocks over his precious sculpture with his wings. Whoopsie! At number 20, it's Lucas from Wizard Peak.
Listen carefully, Spyro. There's a secret area in the artisan's home world near the waterfall. Try jumping on the stones there.
Artisan's homeworld? Waterfall. Sounds good.
Yes, so, Lucas. His dialogue doesn't mean much if you've already played the original Spyro 1, and thus know about the stones in the artisan homeworld. No, what makes this guy stand out for me is his design and animations. As I said before, Dragonite lookalike, but check out those ridiculous mismatching horns of his. complete with giant floating zenyatta ball, and that gorgeous blue robe adorned with gold trimmings. Oh, it's to die for, darling. My favourite element of his design, however, has got to be his wings. The membranes are covered in scribbles that resemble a treasure map, which suits him very well, given he tells Spyro about the secret Sunny Flight portal. And to spruce him up just a little bit more, TFB added that hilarious hopping animation when he talks about jumping on the waterfall stones. I love this guy, honestly, he is a cutie patootie. At number 19, we have Argos from Artisan Homeworld.
Cool flash. Do that again.
The Artisan's boss is through a portal in the Dragon Mouth, but you are not yet ready, Spyro. First, you must complete one of the other Artisan lands.
Even though this encounter is similar in a way to Nevin's, I've put Argos a bit higher on the list because 1, I think he looks so much fancier, and 2, oh, I just love Spyro's animation. It's so funny to watch him bounce up and down with excitement, and even my husband agreed it was cute, so you know it's good. Argos himself is very similar to his original incarnation, but his scales are slightly darker and more lavender than they were before. I love the way the colour blends into the face frills too, something you don't see often on these dragons, as their frills tend to be a completely separate colour to their main skin tone. He's also sporting a pair of pink tinted glasses, a fancy purple scarf and a watermelon. What? I suppose he might have been eating when he got trapped in crystal, but I was definitely not expecting to see that the first time I played. At number 18, it's Tordor from Ice Cavern.
Spyro, some big Norks up ahead are wearing armor, and in the ice cave, armor can make their feet very slippery.
After the utter disappointment that was the other Ice Cavern dragons, it's nice to see at least one of them make it high up the list. And I think Tordor deserves this spot because he has such a unique look about him. Yes, we have other snaky boy dragons, and indeed other dragons with bird-like wings, but Tordor actually embodies the, birdiness, if you will. If you only gave him a quick glance, you'd assume he actually was a bird. Maybe a vulture of some sort given the ring of fur around his neck, or maybe even a long-eared owl with those silly tufts on his head. It's only when you take a closer look that you realise these elements of his design are actually part of his clothing. The fur is attached to the neck of his jacket, and the tufts are decorative pieces on his helmet. Yeah, if he didn't have this outfit, he'd probably be no different than any of the other snaky winged dragons. But he does have other little details to talk about, such as those adorable fluffy ears, and his weapon of choice, the bow. Every other armed dragon we've seen in Reignited favours a mace, staff, axe, etc, etc. So it's nice to see a dragon with a ranged weapon, and why not? Imagine this guy flying through the sky, completely out of range of enemies with melee weapons, and landing perfect shots with his bow. He'd be unstoppable. At number 17, it's Csoka from Haunted Towers.
Hey, Spyro. All dragons know there's magic in a fairy's kiss. See what it can do to your power of flame.
Holy crap, this colour scheme. Purple skin with vivid pink markings, black raven-like wings with a purple tint, black horns and black teeth. It sounds crazy, and you think it wouldn't work together, but hey, emos have been doing it for years. There's nothing dark and brooding about Csoka's attitude, however, and he comes across as a pretty chill, happy dude with an enthusiasm for fairies. We're not talking Mudada levels, but that's probably for the best as some people find Mudada a little bit creepy. I love the connection between Csoka's dialogue and his accessories too. He's telling Spyro about the effect a fairy's kiss will have on his power of flame, all while carrying a candle, and even having candles melted to the top of his horns. And let's not forget to mention that badass starry sock on his tail. I mean, only cool guys can wear stuff like that, right? At number 16, it's going to be Ivor from Dry Canyon.
Is that you, Spyro? Are you the young dragon I've been hearing so much about? Ever since you were a wee puff of smoke, we've known,
You've known...
I forget.
Now, when I talk about dragons whose looks are influenced by their hobbies or professions, Ivor is always the one that comes to mind for me. You don't need to be a genius to work out this guy is clearly some sort of aerial bomber dragon, though hopefully retired given his sight and memory issues. But yeah, look at this guy, he looks amazing! And the more you look at him, the more detail you spot. For example, I noticed previously that his tail was shaped like the vertical stabilizer of a plane, but it was only on closer inspection that I noticed the blue band wrapped around his tail. Does that mean the tail fin isn't natural and he's taped it on to give himself better turning and stability in the air? Because if so, that is both awesome and hilarious. Also, to finish off, the fact Spyro looks so happy to listen to Ivor speak, you know what, it makes me happy. It's nice to see our purple protagonist listening intently to what the older dragons have to tell him, rather than trying to rush out the door. At number 15, it's Latif from the Dreamweaver's homeworld.
Welcome to the Dreamweavers, young one. While chasing Nasty's minions in this world, you must expect the unexpected and prepare for what is not there.
So Latif already has the advantage of, usually, being the first Dreamweaver dragon you come across, which of course makes him all the more memorable. But what always made Latif stand out to me in the original was that cryptic message he gives to Spyro. Expect the unexpected. Prepare for what is not there. Blah blah blah. So I'm pleased to hear TFB left his line intact. And to go with Latif's enigmatic words, check out the design. We got another tail balancer, guys. I think he might be smoking something too, because he doesn't seem to focus on Spyro. Rather, he looks off into the distance. Though it could possibly be he's blind. Or maybe he has some sort of second sight and therefore doesn't need his vision. Who knows? I'm just making this up as I go. But yes, I like Latif. The fact he speaks in riddles suits his Dreamweaver occupation, and he looks mystical and wise beyond his years. Also, Zenyatta called, he wants his golden balls back. At number 14, it's Jed from Treetops.
That was quite a ride, Spyro. You learned a lot since you were a young glider.
Yeah, well, you could have found an easier spot to get stuck.
Ah, the dragon we all hated for being in such an awkward spot. But you can't stay mad at him for long in Reignited. Look how happy he is. He's definitely one of those dragons you can't forget about because his design is so over the top. We're not talking absolutely crazy. There's a few coming up on the list that do fit that role. But the colours and patterns on his skin, that enormous belly, the stubby feathered wings, and that weird grin he has. It all works together to make him stand out above the rest of the dragons. Also, we can't forget how annoyed Spyro is at having to make that series of jumps to get to Jed. I think we all felt like that when we first played this game, original or Reignited. Oh, and I'm glad they kept the shrug at the end of the encounter. It just shows how carefree some of these dragons are, regardless of their predicament. At number 13, we have Gunnar from the Peacekeeper's homeworld.
Well done, Spyro. Keep up the good work, and I know you'll fulfill your destiny.
Destiny? I just want to kick some.
Just toast those enemies and collect the treasure.
Me monster fetish! Honestly, this guy made me a scaly. I don't know which part of his design I like more, but we have to give particular mention to those large pointy teeth. I bet he's terrifying to come across on the battlefield with those. And then just because, you know, he didn't look badass enough, TFB gave him friggin' Stegosaurus plates that resemble a mohawk. It's hard to see on the model in game as he never turns around, so here's a nifty picture just to show you. And then we can all appreciate Spyro's enthusiasm for wanting to kick some nasty Norka. At number 12, it's Nestor from the Artisan Homeworld.
Thank you for releasing me, Spyro. Free 10 dragons in the Artisan world, then find the balloonist. He'll transport you to the next world.
What about Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
Oof, that voice. Oof, I say. It still surprises me that his voice actor, Darren DePaul, can sound so calm, collected and suave here, and then voice a character as over-enthusiastic as Reinhardt from Overwatch.
Honor! Justice! Reinhardt!
I suppose that is the sign of a good voice actor though, and after hearing Nestor speak when he popped out a crystal, I don't think there were a dry pair of panties in the land. It's not just his voice that oozes cool, however. Dusting off his clothes and giving Spyro that side-eye glance before standing up straight to thank our protagonist properly. Oh my lord, just somebody please bring me a fan. Honestly, what an awesome dragon to start off your dragon-freeing adventure with, especially for those who've never played the original game. At number 11, it's Delvin, again from the Artisan Homeworld.
Where's Nasty Nork? I'll torch him.
Keep your horns on, Spyro. You have much to learn first. Do you know what the dragonfly following you is doing? His name is Sparks, and he's helping and protecting you. Keep an eye on him and see what I mean.
It was tough to decide who to place in which order between Nesta and Delvin, but I think I have to give the latter extra points for that amazing artistic talent of his. I mean, look at that dragonfly painting. As an on-off artist myself, I am impressed. Also, I love that he breaks out a crystal and is seemingly unaware of the fact Spyro just rescued him. Speaking of our little purple protagonist, his animations are quite cute during this encounter, especially the face he pulls when Delvin asks him if he knows what Sparks is doing. Though how he hasn't wondered about Sparks' purpose or why the bug is even following him at all, I don't know. At number 10, it's Casilla from Dark Passage.
The enemies here can be quite frightening, but you should watch the fools.
I'd rather flame the fools.
Now you're thinking.
I think this one would have to win my theoretical list of top 10 most crazy dragon designs, because what the heck is going on here? I feel like this is the sort of dragon you'd see after popping one too many pills, and indeed, I referred to him in a previous video as LSD Beaver Dragon. Yes, okay, I'm putting Casilla a little high on this list if I'm just basing my choices on looks alone, but he sticks in my mind so much just because of his design. Not to mention he really suits the nightmarish environment of Dark Passage. If you think about it, dreams and nightmares are full of weird creatures we can't wrap our heads around, and Casilla perfectly embodies that Alice in Wonderland feel I often get in the Dreamweaver lands. At number 9, we have Trondo from Dr. Shemp.
Dr. Shemp thinks he's so cool. You don't know what it's been like listening to him over and over. But I tell you one thing, he should watch his back.
Random thought of the day. If the Predator was turned into a dragon, this is potentially what he'd look like. Imposing, carrying deadly weapons, and a head full of scaly dreadlocks. Anyway, yes, Trondo. What a fantastic looking dragon we've got here. The original Trondo, like many other dragons from 1998, wasn't much to look at and really only had his voice going for him.
This guy thinks he's so cool. You don't know what it's been like listening to him over and over.
So seeing what TFB have done for his Reignited version design? Wowzers. Besides the vibrant skin tone, nasty looking weapons, scars, dreadlocks and Rambo bandana, Trondo's animations are pretty fun to watch. Seeing how his wings animate while he expresses frustration over Dr. Shemp's narcissism, it's a brilliant little animation to watch and gives the character so much more life. The only thing I would say is I kind of preferred the original wise guy voice he had going on, but that's only a small gripe of mine, and his current voice isn't terrible by any means. It's very, I'm a badass, stay out of my way, which suits him perfectly. Yeah, don't mess with this guy. At number 8, it's Alva and his sausages from Town Square.
Spyro, did you see a man dressed in blue running around here? He's a thief, and he's stolen a dragon egg. You've got to track him down and get that egg! Run! Run! I'm getting a little winded.
Now this is the guy you want to befriend. He's clearly a good cook, and if we got him and Devlin together, that would be some amazing party food. I always loved Alva in the original game because he got so worked up over the thieves stealing the dragon eggs, to the point he'd leave himself out of breath. Reignited Alva is no different, and in fact shows off his frustration even more by throwing his cooking utensils to the ground in anger. His lack of breath after his outburst is also accentuated, leaving him coughing out a puff of flame before leaning on his chicken skewer. The animations would be hilarious enough, but TFB really outdid themselves with Alva's design, with particular mention given to his skin tone. He used to be a pale reddish pink colour in the original game, but now he looks like someone doused him in tomato sauce and mustard. Fitting giving his role as a chef to the other dragons. And notice the details on his tail too. Not only has he skewered food on each spike, the end of his tail is even shaped like a prong. Yeah, this guy has got to be a good cook. Dragon shish kebab! At number 7, we have Cyprin from Terrace Village.
Good job, Spyro. One day you'll be able to tell all the dragons about your amazing adventures.
Sure, but what I'd really like to do is get out of this swamp.
I didn't think it was possible to make Cyprin look any lazier than he was in the original game, but nope. TFB proved me wrong once again. It's amazing how much you can convey in a character by making them chew on a piece of straw. Speaking of which, where did the whole lazy character chews on a piece of straw cliche come from? Does anyone know? Admittedly, Cyprin doesn't have a lot in the way of design and animations, given he has no clothes on and he's just lying on the floor. But it's how TFB use what little he has so effectively that gives him character. I already mentioned the piece of straw, but the hat is a great little prop for him too. It falls over his eyes and he has to adjust it slightly, which makes for a great little animation. Then of course there's that moment when he first appears and you hear that loud thud as he flops onto the ground. You can tell that this is a dragon that really doesn't care, and things like this are the difference between forgetting a character and said character being one of your favourites in the entire game. At number 6, who else could it be but Magnus from the Peacekeeper's homeworld?
Hey, Spyro. Sparks the Dragonfly has been doing a good job protecting you. Make sure to keep him strong by feeding him lots of butterflies.
This guy is the king of the chubby boys. Look at that belly. And not only does he have the most terrific tummy in all the land, he uses it to his advantage. Given his outfit and mannerisms, I assume he's some sort of sumo wrestler. I love the comical bouncy noise as he wobbles his belly too. It's not often we get cartoony sound effects during these encounters, but it suits the style of the game and the dragon so well. What a complete change in looks too! Before, Magnus was a pale, sandy colour with spots all over his skin. Now he stands out from the crowd in shades of bright orange and red, with large black horns all over his skin which make him resemble some sort of horned lizard, and, oh my gosh, would you just look at those wings, darling. Black and red stripes? Yes please! Now normally I make a fuss when a dragon in Reignited is missing his spots, but for Magnus, I'll make an exception, because this guy is easily a contender for the top spot in my theoretical best dragon designs list, or whatever it was I called it. At number 5, it's Ravello from Jacques.
Any advice before this battle?
Advice? A wise dragon once told me aim high in life, but watch out for flying boxes.
Huh?
Okay, this was a dragon design I certainly was not expecting to see in Reignited, but I suppose somebody had to have knitted Csoka's glorious tail sock. Not to mention you have to have a wacky dragon design to go with the wacky dialogue Ravello spouts. Flying boxes? Huh? And what a glorious design it is. If you're not paying much attention to the dragons, or are busy reading livestream comments like I was when I first played, you may not have noticed that the woolen onesie Ravello is wearing is actually being knitted by Ravello himself while he talks to Spyro. He even has the ball of yarn he's using attached to his horns, giving it a sun and moon-like motif, which is fitting given Ravello is a dreamweaver, and stars, suns and moons tend to be incorporated into their designs. And of course he's rocking back and forth on his butt, just like a little old biddy in a rocking chair with her knitting needles and wool. The only thing that lets this encounter down for me is Spyro. While his unsure is fine, I don't like how Tom Kenny delivers the first line. I preferred Carlos Alazaki's take, with Spyro sounding disbelieving at the realisation that this is the boss he'd have to defeat.
Any advice before this battle?
At number 4, it's the over-enthusiastic Bubba from Misty Bog.
I'll tell you what to do with those creatures. Smash them, Spyro! Stamp them out and squish them and squash them!
How about charge them and flame them? We are dragons after all.
I wasn't lying when I said over-enthusiastic. The original Bubba was nowhere near this psychotic about stomping on the Misty Bog creatures. But to be honest, after seeing the dragon-eating plants in all their disturbing HD glory, I'll let him do whatever he wants to them. Plus, that laugh of his is brilliant. So much so, it gets you chuckling along too. Then there's the design of Bubba, in keeping with his original appearance in terms of the blue skin tone, but now he has strange horny growths all over his body, which in my opinion make him look all the more menacing, which is then further accentuated by his over-the-top nature. Spyro's fared well in this encounter too, sounding much more awkward and uncomfortable when he shoots down Bubba's idea. I can't blame him, to be honest. I wouldn't want to get on this crazy big blue dragon's bad side. But I think Bubba forgets that Spyro is a teeny tiny dragon, and therefore not very suited for squashing creatures like he is. Luckily, Bubba doesn't take it personally and finishes the encounter with one of the best animations in the whole game. At number 3, we have Bruno from the Beastmaker's homeworld.
Nasty Nork is turning our swamp into an electrified junk heap. And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
Bruno stands out to me amongst the crowd because of his animations alone. His design is alright, but I can't help but think ringworm when I see the pattern on his skin. Yeesh. Now, I'm a big fan of accentuated character animations. As I said before, they make said character all the more hilarious or endearing, and it makes them stick in your mind. So that hat bouncing off Bruno's head as he swings his staff around and angrily talks about what the Norks have done to his home, it gets me every single time. I don't even think it's a proper hat. It looks like some sort of pineapple he's carved out and put on his head. Fashion, darling, look it up. I'm so glad TFB upped the antics of Bruno, as he didn't sound that upset in the original game, more slightly miffed, you know?
Nasty Nork is turning our swamp into an electrified junk heap.
I mean, this is his home after all, smelly swamp or not. He should be distraught when he talks about what the Norks have done to it. I am still debating, however, whether I like Spyro's reply more in this version or in the original.
And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
Yes, they're kind of similar, but if you listen closely, you can tell Alazaki sounded more disbelieving to the idea the swamp was ever beautiful, whereas Kenny is more, I'm not a personal fan of the swamp, but it's your home and I respect that. So Alazaki plays it comically, but Kenny sounds more sincere. Let's just say I like both and move on. Runner up at number 2, it's Gavin from Stone Hill.
Watch the dragonfly, Spyro. His color indicates his power. When he eats butterflies, he stays strong. Like me.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I can't say a bad word about this guy or his design. The second I saw him, I fell in love. Now, if Capano is a monster for constantly wasting precious tea, Gavin is a saint for providing us with fresh coffee. I'm assuming he's some sort of hipster barista. He's got coffee mugs around his belt, he's grown a mustache, he's got tattoos on his bicep, and there's a bunch of crap all over his face. No offense to people who wear that stuff, I just don't understand why you whippersnappers would want to punch holes all over your body. Actually, you don't even need to work out what his role in Dragon Society is, just check out the concept art. He's obviously writing down an order for Spyro given the notepad, but can we just take a moment to look at our purple protagonist, who's holding what looks like a unicorn frappuccino? And then there's the branded coffee cups on the left of the artwork. Really not being very subtle, are we? Okay, so I can't remember when I said this and I'm too lazy to find out as it doesn't matter that much, but remember when I said that dragons should use their wings more often while interacting with Spyro? Well, the same goes for their tails too, and Gavin proves just how useful a dragon's tail can be when he pours himself a coffee. I really wish we had tails, that'd be so nifty. And of course, I can't end this entry without showing that little animation when Gavin leaves. Yeah, I think this guy loves himself a bit too much, but you know what? He's a coffee provider, so I will forgive him. And finally, at number bloody 1, this list took too freaking long to make, it's Gildas, again from Stone Hill.
Spyro, my friend, how about a hint on gliding?
You bet.
For the longest glide, press the jump button at the top of your jump, and try pressing the action button to drop down mid-flight.
Throughout this game, there's been plenty of dragons that have stuck with me, due to design, animations, attitude, and so on, but nobody has made me smile quite as much as Gildas has. He's a ray of pure joy for me, and what a sweet, kindly dragon he is, especially towards Spyro. But let's start off talking about his design. There's barely any resemblance to the original Gildas, besides being a shade of blue. TFB have gone all out here to create a dragon unlike those of 1998. And compared to his original counterpart, Gildas now has light blue skin, a head of fiery red and blonde hair, and he's lost a significant amount of weight. I do love me chubby boys, but it's good to see the occasional dragon keeping in shape. Then of course there's the fact he's a painter, and an enthusiastic one at that I presume, given the paint splatter all over his apron and himself. And of course the enormous paintbrush in hand, I mean that's quite a giveaway. Also, if you're paying attention, you'll notice his tail tip is not only shaped like a paintbrush head, but it's even covered in paint too. This is also shown in one of my favourite pieces of concept art for the game. I love this one because Gildas seems to be one of the few dragons that isn't annoyed when Spyro messes up. In fact, he looks just as enthusiastic as Spyro does as he tries to teach him how to paint sheep fodder. They're both awesome paintings, of course, but I think Spyro did a cracking job there, and Gildas knows it. So yeah, the design is awesome, Gildas himself is an enthusiastic old dude, but what makes him really stand out to me is the vibe he gives off. He comes across as a kind, genuine, grandfatherly figure who's just happy to spend time with Spyro and share some of his knowledge with him. This is the kind of relationship I always wanted with my grandfather, as from what I've been told, he sounded just like Gildas. Unfortunately, I never got to know him as he passed away when I was still a baby, which is why this encounter means as much to me as it does. It's like my grandfather is actually here, and I can finally spend some time with him, even if it's only for 15 seconds or so. And yes, oh my gosh, the list is finally done! Once again, I'm sorry this has taken so long. I am a slacker, I know, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same and you didn't go too mad waiting for it to appear on my channel. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like as it really helps me out, and I'll see you in probably one of my live streams as I'm having a bit of a change up on my channel, but I'll let you guys know what's happening soon. Thank you for watching and bye bye! Shout out to my biggest Patreon supporters, Klaxon, Thomas Hinton, Jeffrey Thomas, Razak, Zugador, Ross Ward, and Samuel DeBoss. I really appreciate all the support you guys give me, and it means a lot, especially now with Merton and I moving. Even the people who watch my whole video without an ad blocker, it really means so much because it helps me out a lot. So thanks once again, and I'll see you all later.